Hi everybody, it's Mark again. I hope everybody's doing great. Um, this video is going to be a follow-up video on a clock where the cuckoo bounces in and out of the door. There's so many issues that could happen in a clock, and I try to post videos as I discover them or as people ask me questions and I don't have a video covering it, or I thought maybe I had a video that covered it. Come to find out I don't have a video covering it. So this video might be a little refresher course or a little redundant for some people. But anyway, let's get to it. And by the way, this video is strictly for count wheel type movements or Hubert Herr movements. Now, one of the main reasons why your clock cuckoo might be bouncing in and out is because this lever right here that comes out of the count wheel, it can't have any space between the lever and the top of the count wheel. It needs to ride along the count wheel, because if it's got space, as it cuckoos, it's going to bounce. It's going to make the bird go in and out. This wire right here that I'm pushing on pushes on this wire right here, which is what makes the bird go in and out of the clock. So if this lever is not riding on the count wheel and it's got space, it bounces, which causes this wire to push on the bird wire, which causes the bird to bounce in and out of the door. Now, another issue, if you're required to have so much space between this wire that is connected to this lever and the wire that actual pushes the bird out the door. It's connected to the bird post, which the bird is connected to. Maybe that helps. But if this wire is loose, if you're sitting there trying to adjust this wire to this wire and you're having a hard time adjusting it, this wire might be loose in the post. If you can easily move this wire to the left or to the right or in and out, then it's too loose in the post. That wire, they basically drill a hole, they put that wire through that hole, and they either solder the wire into the post or they smush the end of the wire. That way, when they pull the wire through the post, that smushed end prevents that wire from coming out of the post. And so later in this video, that's what I do to one of my clocks. I don't want to take this dial off, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Or stand by. The clocks are made different but similar. In some of the older count wheel clocks, they have a wire that comes, and you could find this in my series of repairing cuckoo clocks for beginners, but they have a wire that comes across here and then loops around the center wheel with minute arbor, and there's 2 pins on this posting. And when I turn the hands, you see the door comes open. That's because instead of having that wire that comes across, it's got this contraption here that sits on this metal platform. And that, believe it or not, is part of this posting here. It's connected to this post, which is connected to this wire, which is connected to this lever right here. It's all one unit. So keep in mind, if you have the wire, this is actually a better system here, because if you have the wire that comes across that the pin strip, whenever you adjust this wire or this wire, it might be adjusting this wire here that comes across. Also, keep in mind, if you have a wire that comes across and it catches these 2 pins, if while the clock is in warning or while the clock is cuckooing and you turn the hands backwards, that wire that's connected to those pins is going to bend, because those pins is catching the wire. In this case, if you turn the hands backwards, nothing happens, okay? This piece right here goes back and forth. When I turn it clockwise, the door opens. When I turn it anti-clockwise, nothing is happening. But if you have that wire that's connected and you turn it anti-clockwise, you're going to bend that wire. So, getting back to the purpose of this video, if after you check this lever and it's riding on the count wheel, but yet your clock is still bouncing in and out, the cuckoo is bouncing in and out, or it's not coming out, it's probably because this wire right here is loose in this shaft. I'm going to take you to a Hubert Herr clock. Here you should be able to see that this wire was a hole was drilled in this shaft. This wire was fit in the hole, and then it was pinged in to prevent it from coming out this way or going back the other way. Again, if you're having trouble adjusting this wire, it could be loose in this shaft. So check that out. And in the next part of this video, you will see, here I got different movements. You will see that I have a movement and I go like this, and the wire goes here, and then it goes here. It was too loose in the movement. This wire, this is a cuckoo quail clock, so the cuckoo doesn't trip, is not tripped by the minute arbor. The quail side is what trips the minute arbor. But most Hubert Herr clocks have a wire, just like a count wheel clock. They have a wire and a side door that you can access them to trip the cuckoo. Stand by for the next part of this video. So if you have a Hubert Herr cuckoo clock or an older cuckoo clock that has the arms that trip the bird lever, they have the arms on the side, and if your clock is doing this number where the bird bounces in and out of the door as it cuckoos, in this case the wire is loose. You see how easy I could move this wire? It shouldn't be that easy. So, depending on, you see that? Depending on where you have it set is depending on whether the bird is gonna bounce in and out of the door. So, I need to fix this, and the best way to fix it is to take this lever out, take the wire out, re-drill a hole, and put a different wire in. So that's what I'm going to do. As a side note, if you got too many tools out, you might grab the wrong item. I want to use this wire, which is 1.1 millimeter. I wanted to use this drill, which is 1.1 millimeters. This drill bit, but I had this drill bit laying out beside this drill bit, and I grabbed the wrong drill bit. Now this is 1.4 millimeters, and I drilled the hole. This wire that's 1.1 millimeters is what I was wanting to use. It's now too big for the hole. So I have to come up with a different wire. And now with the wire replaced, and every time you take this kind of movement apart, you have to make sure everything is adjusted to include the gong, the hammer, the high note, and the low note lift levers, because you might have to readjust those items whenever you put it back together. A lot of people don't like Hubert Herr movements. They can be a pain in the butt, but if you know I'm not putting enough weight on this, and that's why it's doing that. But if you know what their design is, what makes them tick, you can get them up and running. There is some bushing wear on the escapement wheel, but this is a one-day movement, and that shouldn't bother it. You just have to adjust the virgin crutch assembly to get it to tick. I think it's now time to put all the rest of the parts back on and put the chains on and get this thing back in the case.